Hey guys, Connor here, and this is section 2, lecture 1. So, the beginning of the What to Learn section. And if you're here, then you should have already been through the How to Learn section, and this is the next progression. So, like I said, in part 1 of this series, it focused on how to learn specific information, and we discussed a variety of learning techniques. And we learned that the easiest way to process and remember information is to make it unusual, organized, real, and somehow connected to our lives. Now, those skills are going to be very beneficial to you, but the real power of this learning system is combining both how to learn strategies with what to learn strategies. And in this section, we're going to focus on exactly what you should focus your time on when you're preparing for your Leaving Cert exams. So we're going to combine these two things together to give you a really, really powerful system. Now, if you're like most students, when you study, it looks something like this. You've got all of this information and you just feel overwhelmed, stressed out. You don't know what to do. You don't know what to learn. You don't know where to go next. You don't know where to start. You don't know what you should do. You just don't really know where to go. And this is very, very common for most students. Now, I'm going to let you in on something. The truth about your Leaving Cert is this. There are very few questions that you can be asked in any exam until the questions begin to become repetitive. And the fact is that most of the information in your textbooks will never, ever, ever be asked in your Leaving Cert exam. So learning from your textbook is often a complete and utter waste of time. You see, when the State Examinations Commission designs a paper for an examination, they do so by only asking questions that are most relevant to you today. So if you think about it, you're not really going to be asked questions that were relevant 7, 8, even 10 years ago, because if you were, then the whole Leaving Cert would be just a complete and outdated system, and then that would make it just really a waste of time. So because of this, there's actually a limit to the variety of questions that you will get in your exam. And like I said before, questions are therefore become very, very repetitive. Now, doesn't it make sense then that what you should learn are the questions and answers that are most likely to come up in your exam than, say, learning your notes and, doing all the things that I talked about, studying your textbook, etc. So remember, you're never going to be asked to rewrite your notes or rewrite a paragraph out of your textbook in your Leaving Cert exam. You're always going to be asked a question, and then you need to provide an answer to that question. So let's take an example here by looking at a section from the Leaving Cert geography paper. Now, the example that I've picked out is an area called geoecology in the Leaving Cert geography exam. So just bear with me as I just run through these really quickly. In 2009, the questions were, with reference to one soil type you've studied, examine how parent material, climate, and organic matter influence the soil. Discuss how human activities can accelerate soil erosion. Assess how biomes have been altered by human activity. 2008. Examine 2 ways in which human activities have altered the natural characteristics of a biome you've studied. Examine 2 of the natural processes which influence soil erosion. Describe and explain the main characteristics of one biome that you have studied. Again, you might already be seeing a pattern here. 2007. Examine how overcropping, overgrazing, and desertification can affect soils. Examine the general composition and characteristics of any one soil type you've studied. And describe how plant and animal life adapt to soil and climate conditions in a biome which you have studied. 2006. Examine the features that influence soil characteristics. Examine the main characteristics of a biome you have studied. Assess the impact of human activity on a biome you have studied. So I've just briefly organized, those are the last 4 years of geoecology in the Leaving Cert geography exams. And now I've just organized these questions by keywords. So from 2009 to 2006, 6 of the questions were about biomes. Like you can see at the top, assess how biomes have been altered, examine 2 ways in which human activities have altered the natural characteristics of biomes, etc. So you can see that biomes, questions on a biome are being asked pretty much every year. In fact, it has been asked every year. Now the same can be seen here with soils. From 2006 all the way up to 2009, something on soils has been asked every single year. And if you want to pause the video and read through these, I'm not going to read through them for you. You can see how similar the questions actually are. Now here's what I'm going to pose to you. If you knew the answer to 2 questions then, one on biomes and one on soils, then you will have covered everything that you need to know for this section of the geography exam. Now the reason this is the case is that there's very little else that you can be asked. So if you learn a 100% answer, correct 100% correct answer to these 2 questions, it's very likely that A, at least one of these questions will come up. Remember, there's very little else that can be asked in this section. And B, that you will have the exact answer to get full marks. That's very, very interesting. So we're going to take a break there, and in the next lecture, we're going to begin to learn the techniques of how you can establish the most likely questions that will be asked of you in your exam, and then also the best way to study for them.